Encanto is Spanish for charm. Coming up today on the Arizona Report, we'll talk about the North Encanto Historic District. Coming up right now. My guest today knows an awful lot about the North Encanto Historic District in Phoenix. Her name is Laura Boyajian. She is with Wise Choice Properties. She's been a resident of Phoenix since 1963. She's had rich careers in broadcast journalism, radio, and music, and she's also played with Stevie Wonder. Laura specializes in historic Phoenix properties, and she is a multi-million-dollar producer and one of the best agents and most hard-working agents who I know. Laura, welcome to the Arizona Report.
Thank you so much for having me, David. I appreciate it. And I have to correct one thing. I wasn't born until 65, so I was actually here in 1983, not 63.
I said 63. You know what? It's one of those things. I looked at my notes. I saw 83 and it said the wrong year. But thank you for guiding me there. I wanted to have you on the show today, Laura, because North Encanto is a beautiful, charming historic district in Phoenix, and it doesn't get as much press as I think it should, and it sometimes is in the shadow of its brothers and sisters in the historic districts around Phoenix. As a matter of fact, there are 35 around Phoenix. North Encanto is just one of those. But you've lived there for a while, is that correct?
Yeah, I bought my house that I'm currently in and still in since November of 2004 and haven't looked back.
Excellent.
It came from I was in Arcadia, which is another fantastic neighborhood.
Yes.
But I wanted more of the downtown city feel, and our downtown really wasn't nearly as vibrant then as it is today. It was a little risky going west of 7th Avenue back then, but I just knew it was up and coming, and that still holds true. It is, we are just on fire right now.
And I drove through the other day, and one of the neat things about the neighborhood, besides the charming atmosphere, is the street layout. Now, the neighborhood's not that big. I believe it's bounded, correct me if I'm wrong, bounded on the north by Osborne, on the south by Thomas, and then 15th Ave on the east and 18th Ave on the west. Is that right?
That is generally correct, yes.
But
yes. There's 456 homes total in our district, so it's not the biggest, but it's certainly not the smallest.
Gotcha. Well, the street layout has a very intimate street layout, and the developers planned it that way to minimize traffic running through the neighborhood. So you've got almost like 4 concentric, maybe cul-de-sacs in the neighborhood, but they kind of meander, and it's a real pleasant drive through that neighborhood. When I went up 16th Avenue the other day, huge palm trees, which I have to imagine are 80 or 90 years old, lining the streets. It's really it's a great area.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny you mentioned that about the streets, because we have the streets are actually named with the word circle at the end of them. Not every street in North Encanto has that. And that is the circular street patterns that do exist in North Encanto were actually pretty much mandated by FHA design principles at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, because of pre and post-war issues, money, which kind of holds true for pretty much all the historic districts in the valley, and North Encanto is not any different from that. So FHA had a lot to do with those circular streets, and I wish the whole neighborhood were like that, but we do have flower circle, different circles that are just wonderful.
You said post-war and maybe pre-war. What are the years that kind of define North Encanto as far as home construction?
Well, the general period of significance is from 1939 to 1956.
Okay.
And the earlier homes that were built were the smaller 2-bedroom, 1-bath homes. And then, that was pre-war. And then after World War II, when things settled down a little bit and the economy was getting better, then the larger homes were being built. So it's not uncommon to have the 3 and even 4-bedroom homes. Like I have a 3-bedroom, 2 bath, all original floor plan with a detached garage. I'm one of the lucky ones. So there's a variety, but the smaller ones were pre-war and the bigger ones were post-war.
And when I've driven through the neighborhood in the past, one thing that struck me was most everything is single story. Is there an exception to that?
There is one exception. There's one 2-story home which is just flat out gorgeous, and it does not get any attention. And I said, if that thing were to go on the market, I would buy it.
That's great. Well, it's a great neighborhood. I've driven through, and it has clay tile roofs. There are some fiberglass shingle roofs on some homes there, but the architecture. I took some notes on some of the different styles in there. You've got ranch style, which probably represents the construction, post-war, but there's some Spanish colonials, territorials, Pueblo revival, and I think there was even one contemporary home in there that I happened to drive by. But they're very unique, and I can see why you were attracted to this area and why your buyers are drawn to this area.
Yeah, I'll tell you about one thing that is a very interesting fact about our about the home styles in our neighborhood. We are definitely and predominantly comprised of what's called a transitional ranch style home, which is very, very different from your basic ranch style home. But like you said, we do have other styles, but actually a very limited amount. The Spanish colonials, the Pueblo revivals, Southwest style. We have some contemporary styles, and even our modern styles, which were they're just kind of peppered here and there throughout the neighborhood. And these designs, they are consistent with the 1939 to 1956 time period design. So we have a really nice variety to look at. But the transitional ranch is the dominant style in our neighborhood, and it's really interesting because it's said that this neighborhood has more transitional ranch style homes intact than not only the city of Phoenix but the state of Arizona.
Great.
So we are like the transitional ranch style kings and queens of our neighborhood. It's really cool, and I have a transitional ranch home with a Mediterranean flair, and it's just beautiful.
And when you say, Laura, transitional ranch, is that, for example, between the bungalow era and the full-blown ranches of the 1950s and 60s? This is kind of that interim post-war phase where those floor plans were just coming in vogue. Is that right?
Yes, that's pretty much accurate. And the transitional ranch-style homes are more unique because, you have a lot of ranch homes that are later 50s, 60s and 70s, like what you'll see up in North Central Phoenix or some other historic neighborhoods, that are just a little bit more plain and simplistic in design and style. And, they're just a little bit more boring, okay? But the transitional ranches just have a lot more character to them, inside and out.
They're block. A lot of them were made with block. I don't know if it was quite the slump block style, but lots of interesting textures. It's not a uniform look. Every house has its unique appeal and unique finishes, whether it's a Spanish arch or a clay tile roof or a block wall exterior, steel windows. It looks like the homeowners in there have made an effort to really maintain the character and preserve the flavor of the neighborhood.
Oh, the pride of ownership is amazing here, and yeah, we have block homes, slump block, brick. Some are stuccoed, some are just old fashioned red brick. Thank God they didn't paint over it, and so we have it's very eye appealing to drive through and look at all the different designs. It really is.
What are some of there were some builders that were notable in North Encanto when it first got going in the late 1930s? Do any names come to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Originally, believe it or not, this neighborhood was supposed to be built as a tract home, like the cookie cutter type stuff.
Okay.
And thank God it wasn't. And again, because of the war, things got all divided up. So there were a multitude of builders that came in and built ultimately what is now North Encanto neighborhood, between 1939 and 1956. The largest builder, there was one set of builders that built actually 51 houses, which is a lot, but they all have different flavor. That was a builder named, they were called Broman and Chapman. They built the first 51 houses, which was by far more than any one builder. And those were the pre-war houses, by the way. Those were like the 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And they were designed by a very prominent architect by the name of Orville Bell. And he also designed the 1939 addition to the Arizona State Capitol building and the Arizona National Guard building in Woodland Park, which is, those are very notable architectural buildings to this day. And he also did a bunch of big state houses in the North Central Corridor, some of those monstrosities out there. But he did do to me, the 1939 addition to the Arizona State Capitol is pretty cool. So
that is neat. And that brings to mind, too, that there have been several notable residents who've lived in the neighborhood over time. One of them that comes to mind is Lincoln Ragsdale. He was a Tuskegee Airman, and he was from Phoenix. Became a mortician, and I believe got involved in politics later. But Lincoln Ragsdale is a big name there. And I was interested to find out that he lived in the neighborhood.
He lived in the neighborhood. He was very active in all the things you mentioned, and active in the civil rights movement. He was a big Black community leader overall, and how he ended up becoming a mortician is beyond me. But he did a lot of really cool things, and he was a very prominent figure here as well. And there's some others that are pretty cool. We've all heard of Ghetto air conditioning.
Yes, I just wrote I have a blog post on my website about the Ghetto Brothers. They were originally from Austria, but then I guess one of them settled in the neighborhood here in North Encanto.
Yep, the Ghetto family lived here back when just the EVAPs were being invented. Before, and then they of course went to air conditioning. Then there's Boros and Boros Brothers contracting.
Okay.
E.L. Varney, he was a really prominent architect who designed a lot of the civic buildings during the 1950s and 60s over here. And here's another really notable name, Levi S. Udall.
Oh, the Udall, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he was a Chief Justice of the Arizona Supreme Court, and he lived here as well. And so, there's a really nice variety. There's more. We have, remember Smith, the Smith family from Smith Iron and Steel Company, and G.D. Hoy. He was a teacher at Phoenix College, and the stadium field is actually named after him, Hoy Field.
And by the way, Phoenix College is directly adjacent to North Encanto. It is the eastern border of the neighborhood.
Exactly. You can walk. I see kids walking to school all the time.
I'll be darned. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's right there. It's walking distance from our neighborhood.
One thing I forgot to throw in was the distance from downtown. This North Encanto is very close to downtown. It's about a 1.5 miles or 2 miles northwest.
It's it depends on which path you take, and it's the location overall is great. Although we are technically a West Valley Historic District, it's just 15th Avenue is just a short. Just go up to 7th Avenue, and you're at the Melrose District, which is very popular. Then of course Central Avenue will take you right into downtown. We're by every freeway you can imagine. The only freeway that's not close is the 51, but we're right. We have 2 different ways of getting to I-17, 2 different ways of getting to I-10.
Sky Harbor's close.
Very close, you bet.
Tell me about restaurants and retail in the neighborhood. Any favorite spots to get a meal when you live in North Encanto?
Oh yeah, in the most immediate, like the walking distance restaurants. Probably heard of Crazy Jim's.
I have.
The original Crazy Jim's is at 15th Avenue and Indian School. They've opened up another one, downtown. But the original Crazy Jim's is here. We have Hamburger Works, that is known and loved by many. That's right up the road. McGurkey Subs and Pizza. That is a hidden. Well, it's small, but it's popular. It's jam packed. If you want to go there during lunch, you have to wait a long time to get a sub, but it's worth it. And then there's like the Persian Cafe and La Piñata Mexican restaurant at 7th Avenue in Osborne. Burger Factory is another popular joint. But then you could just take, walk, bike, or a short drive to Central Avenue, where you have famous Durant's and Pizzeria Encanto, which, by the way, those two restaurants are two of the top 10 best restaurants in all of the Phoenix and Phoenix metro area, and they're all very, very close.
A stone's throw.
Yeah.
And a lot of the restaurants you named just now, Laura, are you can walk to them from the neighborhood. You don't need to get in your car and hop on the freeway for 10 minutes. They're right there.
Yeah, the neighborhood ones I mentioned up front are definitely walking distance, and then Central Avenue. If you want to walk 15 blocks, that's not so bad. That's Durant's, and then down the street Pizzeria Bianco. And then here's the other thing. I'm from Chicago, so I'm a big pizza lover. You could head east over to Central Avenue and Camelback to the Uptown Plaza.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah. Well, you have AJ's, which is a great, upscale shopping. Shopping. Grocery store. And then, yes, you know it.
Lou Malnatis.
Yeah.
I'm from the Midwest, too, and I love deep dish pizza. Matter of fact, I've got to go there now tonight because you planted that seed in my head for Lou Malnati's pizza.
Oh, I used to order them frozen and have it delivered, and now I could just drive, 4 minutes and go get Lou's Pizza. That's the first time Lou's ever opened a restaurant outside of Chicago.
I did read that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I think they have a second one in Phoenix. In the Phoenix.
They actually have like 4 now.
Oh man.
Yeah. They're booming.
It's been a good market for them, and certainly a lot of Midwesterners here in the Phoenix metro who know the brand Lou Malnati's.
We're happy.
Tell me, Laura, real quick, describe for somebody who's thinking about looking in the area. Talk to me about price ranges, typical square footage, number of bedrooms, that type of thing in North Encanto.
It's interesting. Our prices. We have a nice variety of prices. Even though we have the most amazing location and all the things we were just talking about, as far as location and all the amenities in the area, our prices are still so affordable compared to a lot of other historic districts. And especially when you look at the style of the house and the houses and the condition of the houses,
yes.
Our prices are still very, very affordable. I'll give you the lowest example. There's a house pending right now. This one got snatched up very quickly, and it was remodeled. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath for $275,000.
Wow.
And I can't. It was over 1,000 square feet.
And that's the remodeled price. That's the polished price at $275,000.
Yeah. Actually, there's one closed at $275,000, and there's another one pending at $275,000. And the one that's pending is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It's just under 1,400 square feet with over 9,000 square foot on a lot. So, and it was remodeled. I looked at the photos, and it looked great. But we also can go. Flower Circle tends to fetch more, so we do have them in upwards of $500,000 as well.
Okay.
And they're like 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,200 square feet roughly. Some have pools, some don't have pools. So it all depends. The pricing all depends. But overall, it's very affordable. And then, of course, we have plenty that are in the 300.
Okay. It sounds like the meat and potatoes might be like 300 to 425, 450 for most of the homes in the neighborhood.
Yeah, right on. And there's plenty in the 300s.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sounds great. Well, if somebody's watching this video and they are interested in the North Encanto Historic District or any of the 35 historic districts in Phoenix and they want to buy a home and they want to use you, how do they reach you?
Well, the best way is my cell phone, which is 602-400-0008. It looks like a spam number, but it's not. That is my cell phone number. I am very responsive. If I don't answer, I call back immediately. And then I have a website, which is Phoenix Districts, that's plural, historicphoenixdistricts.com.
Okay.
It is actually, it's a good site, and it's getting a complete makeover that should be up and running in about a month or so, which is going to be even better than it is now. But you can go through that website and look at all the homes for sale for each of the 35 historic districts and beyond.
Wonderful.
And you could look at, it's connected with the real-time live MLS and everything. But I'm really, it's nice to set up custom searches for people to get exactly what they want, and more importantly, what they don't want. So if somebody wants to call me, I'd be happy to take them to my neighborhood or any neighborhood for that matter.
Sounds great. Well, and that's the key is finding a good realtor like yourself who lives in these neighborhoods like North Encanto and knows them like the back of the hand. I think that's a true asset for the home buyers. Laura Boyajian, and I want to spell your last name too if somebody tries to find you on the internet. Boyajian, Boyajian. Laura Boyajian, Wise Choice Properties in Phoenix.
That is correct, and I go by Laura B for short, because most people have a hard time pronouncing my last name.
Gotcha. I love the Armenian name. I love the Armenian name.
Me too. Thank you.
Well, great. Laura, thank you very much for your time and joining us on the Arizona Report. Would love to have you back in a future episode to talk about more of the historic districts in Phoenix that you are intimately knowledgeable about, and it's been great to have you here today.
David, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun, and really a very sincere thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you again to the viewers. My name is David Meek, licensed Arizona real estate broker and editor and writer at the Arizona Report. My website, arizonareport.com, or you can reach me here in the studio, 480-999-MOVE. That's 480-999-63. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 15 about the North Encanto Historic District with Laura Boyajian. Until next time, we'll see you then.